Found this small metal shelf inside an old rural mailbox. It's not for letters, not decorative either, just a tiny metal dish mounted to the inner wall. Any idea what it was used for? The photo shows an old version of an American mailbox with a curious detail. Inside, a small round metal shelf is fixed on the side wall. This shelf was not used for letters or decorations, but for cash. In the middle of the 20th century, when stamps were still bought individually and not everyone had home telephones, postal workers also served as a mobile mail kiosk. If you didn't have a stamp, you could just put the letter in the drawer and leave some coins on this shelf. The postman would pick up the letter, affix the correct stamp, and, if necessary, return the change the next day. This was a convenient, honest, and almost forgotten element of trust between individuals and the state, an era when even the change for a stamp was kept in the mailbox. I found this strange leather belt with a round hole in the middle on a friend's property. It looks like a tool belt, but not quite. Does anyone know what it's used for? This is a leather belt holder for a fishing rod, which is used during fishing, especially when catching large and strong fish. The central hole with a recess is used to fix the handle of the fishing rod. When the fisherman inserts the end of the fishing rod into this hole, the belt allows them to transfer some of the weight from their hands to the body, which significantly reduces fatigue during long periods of fishing. These belts are often used in sea fishing or trolling, where the tackle is heavy and the fight with the fish can last for dozens of minutes. This convenient and practical device makes the fishing process safer, more accurate, and less tiring. I found this strange glass jug with two stoppers and a side compartment. Why is it needed? Why is it shaped like this? And why is there a separate chamber on the side? In front of you is an elegant example of antique glassware, a wine decanter with an integrated cooling chamber. This exquisite piece was especially popular in Europe during the 19th and 20th centuries, when wine presentation required not only taste accuracy, but also aesthetic perfection. The central part of the decanter was used for wine, while the side glass compartment served as a special ice chamber. The cubes were placed inside and sealed with a cork without touching the wine itself. This way, the wine was cooled through the glass partition without dilution or loss of flavor. Such decanters were often used in aristocratic homes and at official receptions. This decision was not only practical, but also demonstrated the status of the hosts, as the ability to serve wine correctly was valued as much as the taste of the drink itself. The intricate workmanship, the chain that held the corks, and the shape of the vessel all speak to the attention to detail and the high level of craftsmanship of the era. I found this strange place on maps near Agate, Utah. What are these rectangular tanks with bright colors? Some are almost black, one is green, and there are orange and red ones. It looks like an industrial area, but it's in the middle of nowhere. Does anyone know what it's for? In front of you is a system of evaporator ponds located near the city of Agatha in the state of Utah. These colorful pools, which can be seen from space, are not just decorative. They play an important role in the industrial extraction of minerals. These ponds are often used for the extraction of potassium, lithium, or other salts that are dissolved in underground salt water. The water is pumped into these ponds where it evaporates under the influence of the sun, leaving behind crystallized salts. The different colors are due to both the depth and the different concentrations of salts and the presence of microorganisms that are sensitive to the chemical composition. This process can take months, but it is effective and environmentally sound in arid regions with high levels of solar activity, such as the deserts of Utah. This top-down view has become an icon of Geo-Industriano design. The colored rectangles in the desert are not a mistake in the photography, but the work of geochemistry, solar evaporation, and human engineering. What is this strange metal object that opens like a sink, found in an antique shop? It looks very old and decorative, and it might be related to food, but I'm not sure. Does anyone know what it was used for? In front of you is an exquisite Victorian bun warmer, a true symbol of luxury and refined taste from the late 19th century. It is not just a serving item, but a brilliant combination of engineering and aesthetics. Made of silver or silver-plated metal, it opens like a shell, or rather like a mechanical flower, with the hinges lifting up to reveal a secret box filled with fragrant pastries. These devices were used in wealthy households in Britain and Europe for tea parties and social gatherings. Inside, there was a ceramic container with boiling water or a metal heating plate, which allowed to keep warm for a long time. Buns, muffins, and scones were placed in it so that they remained warm and soft while being served. Sometimes fragrant fabrics soaked in lavender or mint were added inside, enhancing the impression for the guests. This subject not only solved a practical problem, but also made an impression. It was an element of status, taste, and theatrical presentation. Every dinner with him was a small performance, in the spirit of an era where attention to detail was a true art. Why are there letters around the lock of this mailbox? The building was constructed in the early 1900s. The photo shows an old mailbox door with a circular lettering around the lock. At first glance, it may seem like just a decorative element, but in reality, it is part of an old code mechanism that was used in the early 20th century. These locks worked on the principle of a letter cipher, where the user had to manually set the correct combination of letters by rotating a dial before the lock would open. It was a secure and complex solution for its time, especially in public buildings where mail security was of utmost importance. Later, with the reduction in the cost of key production and the development of lock fittings, such code systems gradually fell out of use. They were replaced by the locks we are familiar with, which use conventional keys. However, many doors still bear traces of this technology, with cast letters around the circumference, indicating the former complexity of the mechanism. This is a silent witness to an era when even a simple mailbox was the result of engineering and a desire for functionality. What is this device with a handle and ribbons that locks and rotates? The photo shows an old book-carrying strap, which was popular in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, before the widespread use of backpacks. It consists of wooden handles, a metal frame, and a textile strap. The books were placed in the center, and the straps were wrapped around the stack and secured using a rotating mechanism. The wooden handles provided a comfortable grip, preventing skin irritation and damage to the books. These devices were commonly used by students, school children, and librarians, especially for carrying heavy textbooks, a simple yet ingenious invention from a bygone era. I found this in the woods. It looks like some kind of frame with axles and brakes. It's all rusted up, but it looks like part of an old car. Does anyone know what it could be? The photo shows the remains of the rear chassis of an old Volkswagen Beetle. The recognizable central tunnel beam and rear suspension with drives indicate the classic design of the Beetle, with a rear-mounted engine and transmission. These chassis were assembled as a single load-bearing element, with the engine, transmission, suspension, and body attached to it. Despite the rust and age, the parts are surprisingly intact. This is a silent reminder of an era when cars were simple, mechanical, and almost indestructible. I found this strange tunnel in the basement of an old house in Pennsylvania. It's made of stone and goes deep into the wall, with a vaulted ceiling and windows nearby. It looks like a passageway or a niche, but it's very narrow and low. Does anyone know what it was used for? Is it a hidden passage or something more mundane? The photo shows an old coal tunnel in the basement of a house, which was typical for houses built in Pennsylvania in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. These narrow passageways led to small coal niches or storage areas where fuel for heating was kept. Coal was transported by cart or truck and dumped through an opening outside the house, where it was manually distributed throughout the basement. These structures were often part of the original design of the building and played an important role in the household before the advent of central heating. Today, such tunnels arouse a mixture of curiosity and anxiety in their new owners, as they resemble hidden passages, although they were actually just a functional part of the old infrastructure. Found a strange metal tube with a grate at the base of a staircase in an old house coming out of the floor. The house is from the early 1900s, and the tube goes into the basement. It doesn't look like a water pipe or a ventilation system, as it's too short and oddly positioned. Does anyone know what it was used for? The photo shows a heat shaft from an old wood-burning heating system. These grates at the base of the stairs were common in early 20th century homes, especially in the United States. In the basement, there was a massive furnace that was heated with coal or wood. The warm air rose up through a metal pipe and exited through this grate, heating the stairs and nearby rooms. This was similar to central heating, but without electricity. The grates were placed at key locations, such as near stairs, under windows, and in hallways. They had not only a practical, but also a decorative function, often made of brass or cast iron with a patterned lattice. Today, such elements can be confusing, but in their time, they were an integral part of home comfort and engineering ingenuity of that era. I found an old metal ring with numbers, inscriptions, and a movable part. There's a hole in a loop for hanging it. It looks like a tool, but I don't know what it's for. Does anyone know what it is? On the screen is a rare scientific instrument from the 18th century, a portable sundial in the form of a pendant. This brass ring with engraved numbers and a movable pointer was used to determine the time based on the height of the sun above the horizon. These sundials were called anneaux solaires, derived from the French word anneau solaire, meaning solar ring. They were used by monks, travelers, and sailors because they could be used anywhere, without the need for a mechanism, batteries, or springs. The principle was simple. The ring was hung vertically. The slider with the small hole was shifted to the desired month. A ray of sunlight passed through this hole and hit the inner dial with the clock. The place where the light fell showed the current solar time. Such watches were reliable, accurate, and compact. An ideal companion for those who measured time not by the bell, but by the sun. Нашел в старом гараже странный металлический предмет с деревянной ручкой. Внутри есть зажим, и он чем-то напоминает щипцы или держатель. Очень легкий, похоже, вручную изготовлен. Кто-нибудь знает, для чего он? On the screen is a rare scientific instrument from the 18th century, a portable sundial in the form of a pendant. This brass ring with engraved numbers and a movable pointer was used to determine the time based on the height of the sun above the horizon. These sundials were called anneaux solaires, derived from the French word anneau solaire, meaning solar ring. They were used by monks, travelers, and sailors because they could be used anywhere, without the need for a mechanism, batteries, or springs. The principle was simple. The ring was hung vertically. The slider with the small hole was shifted to the desired month. A ray of sunlight passed through this hole and hit the inner dial with the clock. The place where the light fell showed the current solar time. Such watches were reliable, accurate, and compact. An ideal companion for those who measured time not by the bell, but by the sun. I found this strange formation in the Mali Desert on Google Maps. It looks like a huge hole or crater, but the center is raised. What could it be? A geological formation, an extinct volcano, or something artificial? In front of you is a mysterious structure in the heart of the Mali Desert. At first glance, it looks like a crater, but if you look closer, you'll notice that the central part is not depressed, but rather elevated. This is not a meteorite impact site. It is an inversion relief. Over millions of years, wind and time have eroded the soft rocks, leaving only the solid core of an ancient mountain. It is possible that this is the remnant of an ancient volcano, an old magmatic chamber, now a hillock in a silent plain. From the height of a satellite, such places seem alien, almost artificial, but before you is the result of pure nature, a shape born not by an explosion, but by patience. It is an ancient imprint of the Earth's own breath. I found these heavy metal balls with a loop and numbers in a drawer in a hotel room. They look like weights, but they're very rough and don't have handles. Does anyone know what they could be and what they're used for? The photo shows massive fishing weights designed for deep-sea fishing. Their rounded shape and cast numbers indicating their weight make them easily recognizable. These weights are used when the bait needs to be dropped very deep, such as when fishing for cod, halibut, and other bottom-dwelling species. How it works: lead or steel balls with a loop are attached to the fishing line. Their purpose is to weight down the tackle and ensure that the bait reaches the desired depth. Even with strong currents, they keep the bait at the very bottom. The weight of such cargoes ranges from several hundred grams to several kilograms. Why they ended up in the hotel remains a mystery. Perhaps one of the guests is an angler, or maybe these heavy objects are used for completely different purposes. For example, as technical ballast, or unusual door stoppers. It's a tool from the fishing world that suddenly finds itself far from the water. Dear friends, now let's play a game. I'll give you an object, and you'll write in the comments what it's for. I know that my subscribers are the smartest, so I'm waiting for your comments. If you don't guess, the answer will be in the next video. I found these rubber cups on a rope near a lake. They're about the size of a camera lens and resemble earplugs. Does anyone know what they're used for? The photo shows rubber plugs for kayaks, also known as scupper plugs. These compact cup-shaped plugs are inserted into special holes on the bottom of the boat, scupper holes. Scupper holes are a self-watering system. They allow the water trapped inside to come back out. But in calm water or in a parking lot, everything can be the other way around. Water seeps into the boat through them. Then such traffic jams come into play. They are inserted into the holes and are firmly fixed, preventing water from entering. The soft rubber provides a reliable seal, and the cord allows you to quickly remove the plug, even with wet hands. These plugs are commonly used in recreational or sports kayaks on lakes, rivers, or near the shore during camping. They are an inconspicuous yet useful addition for those who want to stay dry, even in the middle of a lake.